The German Ancestral Heritage series finishes up today as Full Circle Ancestry puts an Alsatian bow on this multi-country adventure with perspectives for war, wine, and wrap-up. War has been an off-and-on part of life for the people of Alsace for centuries. Its location on the west bank of the Upper Rhine River has always meant that control of Alsace is vital to controlling communication, in the sense of moving not information, but people and stuff along this major artery of Europe. The last 3 wars to take place in the region have had a particularly lasting impact. The first of these is the Franco-Prussian War, already mentioned a couple of times in this series. It was the war that won Alsace for Germany. One of the first engagements of the war is called the Battle of Wörth. Confusingly, it is also called the Battle of Froschweiler. Even more confusingly, especially since nothing related to the battle seems to have happened there, it is also called the Battle of Reichshofen. The battle was fought on lands just to the west of Adam Steffen's old stomping grounds of Preusdorf and Gersdorf, and not too far east of the Heckel family's home in Kintweiler. Don't worry, I have no intent of grinding through any details of the battle, fought between the French forces on their own soil against the invading armies mainly from Württemberg, Bavaria, and Prussia. These combined German forces won the 6th August 1870 battle that set the stage for further German victories. These monuments, built by the victorious Germans on what became their soil, still stand on French soil, a testament to cultural and historical preservation, even when it stings. Shifting 35 years forward, Alsace was again a theater of campaign between the Germans and the French in World War I. The battle that became known as Le Lange, or Lingenkopf in German, occurred in the Vosges Mountains west of the city of Colmar, about 140 kilometers or nearly 90 miles to the south of Preusdorf, Gersdorf, Kintweiler. The battle raged for nearly 3 months in the summer and early autumn of 1915. Part of the line of battle has been restored along with a museum stuffed with artifacts of war. I thought a look at the pipes used by soldiers during their less frantic moments was a nice counterbalance to the weight of war this place carries. The French made a push in Alsace a priority for the 1915 campaign, but were not successful in breaking the German line on a strategic scale. The fortification of the line that followed meant that this part of the famous Western Front became a stalemate, without any of the grand battles that were to go down in the lore of the Great War. Still, thousands died on this rocky, mountainous terrain, and the preserved memorial also acts as a cemetery for bodies both identified and unknown. Jumping another 25 years ahead, and only about 10 kilometers or 6 miles east of Preusdorf, we come to our last stop on the military history parade. This is the entrance to Fort Schönenborg, one in a network of forts that comprise the Maginot Line. Built by the French between the 2 world wars all along the frontier between France and Germany, it was intended to defend France, and more specifically Alsace and Lorraine, from a potential future invasion if Germany should re-emerge from its decimated state following World War I, which it did. Each fort of the Maginot Line was a dispersed network of observation bunkers and artillery turrets, intended to support each other and cover the land in between them with defensive fire. Constructed up to 30 meters or nearly 100 feet underground, posts within each fort were connected by a network of tunnels, supported by electric trams to move men and material as needed. Designed to be self-sufficient for up to 6 months, the forts each had their own diesel power plants, banks of air filters to bring in clean air and filter such nasties as poison gas if needed, and of course yummy bottled and canned provisions and fully equipped kitchens. The Maginot Line has a bad rap for being one war behind, as it was planned for a static conflict, yet the Second World War turned out much more a war of movement than the first. Fort Schönenborg, however, showed that the French were not completely stupid. It was one of the most heavily contested spots on the Maginot Line, well pummeled but not broken by the Germans before France capitulated at the end of June 1940. They had to be ordered by the French commander-in-chief to surrender under the terms of the Franco-German armistice. Did I mention they had plenty of wine at Fort Schönenborg? You might not be surprised, this being France and all, but wine is one of the things about Alsace that still stand as transitional between things French and things German, or at least what we might perceive as such. This section was titled Wine, but we can think of wine as one element of culture, and we might describe this aspect of culture more generally as cuisine. Alsace is serious about its vineyards, and some villages are essentially defined by their wines. The product of the produce that will develop on these now young baguettes, as the French call them. The word really just means stick. Alsace tends toward producing whites and lighter reds. A tasting in the village of Riquier, big fans of big eggs, stood out to me. We've talked about Alsace as a gradient between French and German culture. We might say its wine leans Alsace in the direction of its French heritage, while much of the food you will find there leans it more in the German direction. Plates with heavy meats, sausage, and bread. Yes, with a salad here and there to keep you honest. I didn't venture too deeply into desserts territory, but how could I pass up this strudel? And trust me, freshly baked bread and local honey for breakfast isn't dessert. Architecture is another element of culture, and it's another one where we can see a blending of the French and German influences, which combine to form Alsace's unique visual character. My headquarters in Alsace was the city of Strasbourg. I arrived by train, where the main station is housed in this 150-year-old classic, which in turn is housed in this 20-year-old biosphere-like steel and glass bubble. Not my cup of tea. Strasbourg redeems itself in its riverfront historic district, lined with timber frame structures. The swans pose for no extra charge. The cityscape is also redeemed by the Cathédrale Notre-Dame de Strasbourg, or the Cathedral of Our Lady of Strasbourg. With a spire standing at 142 meters, or 466 feet, this was the tallest building in the world from 1647 to 1874. The interior is massive beyond what can be expressed in an image. All of the other churches shown in this series could fit inside this building with room to spare. And when lit up at night, what's the French equivalent of Mamma Mia? Strasbourg and the towns and villages beyond also have their share of eye-catching odds and ends. Their share of old city protective walls and gates. Gently flowing streams lined with storybook houses. If one fort is not enough, why not 3? Some are in ruins, others serve as historic sites, all of them a backdrop for the flowering trees, expansive vineyards, and ubiquitous timber frame houses. Okay, I said it again, timber frame houses. From the expanse of Strasbourg's Cathedral Square to the narrow streets of historic villages, these structures are in and among the passageways, sometimes subtle and sometimes colossal. Everywhere there is a touch of charm and a sense of pride. And here is another nice touch, which I'll lump into the category of architecture. Storks, or rather, storks' nests. Whether on a high post, the roof of a house, or the peak of a tower, these are all over Alsace, and in the spring they are well used by these migratory birds. I wonder if there's anything to that thing about storks and babies. Let's wrap it up. Whether it's watching the stars above Strasbourg Cathedral, or tooling around the vineyard-lined roads and into the winding streets of a quaint village, Alsace offered me a way of rounding out this family ancestry tour, giving me time to process all that I had seen and learned. A perfect final touch, really. 5 core villages in 4 main episodes, plus 4 perspective episodes that I hope have added interesting viewpoints beyond my family specifically. Thanks for watching this final episode of the German Ancestral Heritage series. Press the like button, and please subscribe to the channel to see what comes next. Let me know what you think about the series, and if there are more areas you would like to see covered in depth in future shows. Take care.